Hello and welcome to the first showing of The Real Meaning of Business. So, what is the real meaning of business? Well, I'm joined today by Sam Candiali of Target PR, Steve Cook of V Purposeful Strategy, Grant Hayward of Collaborants, and Mike Jennings of the Jennings Group. And they're going to explain exactly what the real meaning of business is and how we've got to this stage. So, Grant, over to you.
I don't think we are, Richard. I thought that was the whole idea of the real meaning of business. We're going to find out from other people what the real meaning of business is.
But yeah, it's great to be here already.
Sorry?
I set myself up for a fall there already.
Well, but it's great to be amongst such wise people. And thanks for the opportunity, really. This is a topic that those that know me know that it's dear to my heart. But I've been on a bit of a journey over the last 12 years, having come out of the corporate world. Started working in the voluntary sector, connecting businesses and charities and being involved in some of that stuff that happens quite a lot. But since then, really getting into much deeper and wider stuff. So, and along the way, I've really come across different people's different perceptions of that. So, and particularly, meeting the likes of Mike, Steve, and Sam, and also through the B4 network, really, as a great platform that brings like-minded organisations together. So I'm really looking forward to this new initiative. And I just really thought we could perhaps try to get a feel for this initially, really, by going to you individually. And Mike, I probably met you first of all in this and the great stuff that Jennings is doing. You want to tell us a little bit about your take on this and what you're hoping to get from Real Meaning of Business?
Yeah, we met a long time ago, Grant, didn't we? When you first moved into this arena, and I've been operating with values and with integrity in my own business for quite some years, and was looking to find other people who were had a similar mindset. That's why it's so good to be part of this group now, to try to work with other organisations who are doing similar things to try and uncover what we really mean by the meaning of business. If you remember, Grant, many years ago, we talked about how there was a melding together of the charities and businesses and the sector in between was the social enterprise. So in the old days, charities used to do charitable things. Business used to be for short-term profit and greed, if you like. And in the middle, we started to get these social enterprises coming along, and charities are having to become more enterprising. And at the business end, businesses are having to become more socially aware. And we talked about this quite a lot, didn't we? Where there was a change going on, driven quite a lot, I always thought, by the millennial generation. And if businesses want to succeed in the future, they're going to have to recognise that generation now, as they become the bigger group of employees and the bigger group of consumers, those are the people that we're selling to and employing. So as businesses, we have to be looking at the way we conduct ourselves. And there's various ways of doing that, which we'll discuss through this process. So I'm talking about integrity, I'm talking about our values such as fairness and honesty and trust, and being consistent in the application of those things. So that's where I think we're going. I came across quite a nice quote at the weekend I thought might work for here. Although it might get deleted in the edit. And this is Russell Howard, the comedian. His father gave him some advice, and he said, "Do your best and don't be a dick," which basically is what we're talking about here. Do well, do good in business, and don't be an idiot. Just conduct yourself well.
Because I mean, that's certainly where I started in this journey, really around the sort of businesses engaging in communities and supporting charities, which is all really, really important. But it's the deeper and wider stuff, as you've said, that you've just touched on. And one of my concerns, and one of the things I'm hoping we can get through this, is that understanding of all those ways in which businesses can get involved. And Sam, that brings me to you. Sorry, Steve, we'll get the global perspective in a second. But Sam, that brings me to you. You did some work recently, didn't you, talking to businesses about their purpose and their take on things. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do and how you...
No, thanks, Grant. So I've just completed an MBA in leading business. And as part of that, my study explored the relationship between PR, obviously my background, but also purpose. And purpose is something that I kind of I've gained more of an interest in over the last sort of few years or so, and become more conscious of. And I kind of think of it as why an organisation exists, really. And I suppose going back to those few years ago, thinking about our business target and how could we you know, as a PR agency, you know, make the world a better place. And I think, you know, it wasn't until I've kind of done this study that I've kind of appreciated the lack of understanding that's out there in terms of people almost having a fear perhaps of purpose, or you know, trying to do business better because they think that, you know, it might cost them money, or it might mean that they're going to put themselves on a parapet and be there for everyone to see. But actually it's about those things that, you know, Mike's touched upon in terms of, you know, adding value in terms of, are we offering a really good place to work? Are we supporting our local economy through recruitment? Are we, you know, supporting our local community through the efforts that we do, and that kind of thing? And I think, you know, if we can help showcase more organizations that, you know, purpose isn't this big scary thing, and that everyone can do it and can do business better, then I think that would be awesome.
Brilliant. Yeah. So then, Steve, to complement that, really, I mean, Mike clearly is working and has been working for a local business that's very community driven and has got very high values. And Sam's obviously talked about the work she's done looking at other businesses. You've been working for some time, really, and particularly on perhaps a more global level on this stuff. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Grant. I mean, firstly, it's just delightful to be here. And I think the key word out of the real meaning of business for me is the word real. Actually, what does that really mean when we're actually on the ground, buried in our business worlds and so on? My background, as you've touched on, is global. I've worked with organisations like central governments and charities and institutions and tech enterprise and other enterprise businesses worldwide for most of my career. So I get a perspective which looks at how really big organisations operate and how they change or not, what the barriers to those things are. And I've been doing that for most of my career. Some time ago, though, I became really concerned about the gaps that existed between different types of organisations and what that really looked like, and how that disconnect between governments and business and civil society were really creating sort of massive barriers to progress as I saw it. And so what I've set out to do over the last 10 years really is to explore what the mechanisms are and how those operate in small businesses and big businesses and local governments and central governments and so on, to start to understand what those barriers, I call them monsters, those barriers to progress really are. And of course, purpose, as everybody here has talked about, is central to my world. But I worry about language. I spend a lot of time looking at the words that we use and how those words in themselves create barriers. So having spent a lot of time dealing with purpose and dealing with businesses and other organisations that sort of get the principle, but don't get what it really means for them. And I think that becomes more important, and particularly now, when we're starting to see some real step changes in the world about things like shift from competitive advantage to collaborative advantage. Well, that's great, really important. But what does it actually mean for ordinary folk like us who are just trying to get on?
I think that's a really good point, Stephen. I think that brings us on perfectly to really, I suppose, our collective view of what we expect from this group. I mean, clearly, hopefully, as those watching and listening can see, you know, we've come at it from different angles, but we've come together, we're like-minded, and, you know, we certainly don't feel we've got the answers. We've got different experiences, but I think we've got as many questions as anything else. So, you know, between you, do you want to share what you're hoping that we're going to achieve through this? We're not looking to reinvent the wheel, are we? We're not looking to preach to people. What are we looking for through this, do you think? Anyone who wants to?
I would suggest that when you look at all of those big changes that are going on and all of the ways in which those are being considered, from regenerative cultures to business as organisms and life sciences, and this is all big, airy, fairy stuff. My aim and my hope would be that between us and everybody that's watching and listening to this today, we're going to be able to find common language that allows us to all think differently about ourselves and our businesses. And that's good enough for me, if we can make all of this approachable.
I think that the thinking is happening, isn't it? But I think, as you touched on before, a lot of business and people, I mean, we have to remember that businesses are just groups of people. People know that we need to be doing things differently and are starting to do things differently, but perhaps want some insight. And Mike, I mean, we're talking about case studies as well, for instance. I think there's nothing better than seeing what other people do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think if we can get people on to come to this show who can talk about things that they're doing with their own businesses. I mean, we've certainly, I've been led to believe through my economics training at university that business is ultimately selfish. We run a business for the benefit of ourselves or our shareholders. And reality is, especially with the smaller businesses and increasingly with the larger businesses, as Stephen would say, is that it's not about that anymore. And so, but none of us here have got the answer to all of it. You know, I've done some things with my own business, which I'm very proud of, and I believe it's made us a better business because of it. But what I'm looking for in this platform is for other people to come on board saying this is what they're done and what they're proud of. And I suppose I'd put the question out to anyone listening to this. When you come to the end of your business life, and you think about legacy, and you think about what you've done, and think about what you want to tell your grandchildren about what you've done with your life, what is it that you've done in your business that makes you really proud? Because it won't be making money. At least I very much doubt it. Or if it is, you're probably not listening to this show. But so what is it? And can you talk about that on this platform so that you can share it with us? Because we can all learn from each other. And by listening to what other people are doing, it's going to help other people think, oh, yes, that is okay. I don't have to follow the what's become over many, many years the norm of being selfish, making as much money, being competitive on any negotiations have to be competitive. It's not like that anymore in business. At least I don't think it is. It certainly hasn't been for me. For me, negotiations are about empathy, understanding the other person's point of view and trying to make a win-win out of the process so that you build a relationship rather than take the most out of it. So anything that people can share, which will help us with the discussion, I think will be really valuable to all of us and all the people listening.
And hopefully some challenges as well. I mean, let's be frank about it. It's not, you know, there are some difficulties, as someone said earlier. You know, the perception, I think it was Sam, the perception is this costs a lot of money, and it's not. And I'm supporting lots of young people setting up new businesses, and they all want to embed this stuff at the heart of what they do. And I think, Steve, the point you made as well, this is for businesses of all sizes. You know, I'm a tiny business. Sam, coming back to you then, I mean, you've obviously had those conversations with people and you've got insights into some sorts of examples. What about you and this program and what you're hoping for?
I think, you know, inspiration, you know, from seeing some examples of different types of businesses doing different types of great work, and kind of, you know, through that then kind of, I suppose, allaying any concerns. So helping organizations give confidence really in order to do this. And I certainly think, you know, there is an education need out that's there as well, you know, to help educate other organizations that actually, you know, this is achievable, you know, like we were talking about, or accessible, and anyone can make steps really to make their business better, that it doesn't have to be, you know, the whole singing and dancing everything all at once, but, you know, you can chip away and make your business a better business.
Richard, presumably you've seen a shift really. I mean, certainly I have, but you're inside it. Have you seen this shift of businesses that are operating in different ways and keen to do things differently? And what's your thoughts on how the B4 network can help with that?
Well, definitely. I mean, I was going to make the point earlier, actually, that I think specifically in the last 9 months, there's a lot of businesses that have changed the way they think. A lot of us have changed the way we think, haven't we, in terms of what's important now. And I think a lot of businesses will be following what Mike said, you know, realizing that it's not just about profit and making money, it's about actually leaving a legacy and doing things in the right way. And I think we've seen countless examples through B4 over the years of businesses that are doing the right thing. But Mike also, in one of the briefings that we had before today, talked about those businesses that don't realize the power of what they're doing. There's a lot of hidden examples out there. So we need to draw those out from other people saying, you should have a look at so-and-so and see what they're doing. And they might not understand what they're doing is the effect of what they're doing, and how we can all learn from that. And I don't want to pick you up, Grant, but you use the word program, but I think we've got to stress that this any sort of structure to this. This is literally a stage. This is literally an opportunity for us to showcase all sorts of businesses at different stages of their lives doing great things, and we can all take bits and pieces from maybe one of them, all of them, to help our businesses become better businesses. So there's no framework, there's no program, there's no schedule or anything. It's just an ongoing spotlight that we're showing. And if I can mention just quickly, unfortunately we haven't managed to get our sixth musketeer here today, Dom Hare from Blenheim Palace, who's kindly agreed to join us. So Dom and all of us often quoting Blenheim as a great example of doing things well in business, and it's great to have Dom on board, and no doubt he'll join us for future shows.
You beat me to it, actually, because I was going to say that, I mean, I love what I do. All I do is talk about fantastic stuff other people are doing. And Blenheim's a good example. And, you know, as you were saying before about different people's approaches to it, an organisation like Blenheim, you know, Dom took over a few years ago and just decided to shift it, and he's placed purpose, or they've placed purpose at the heart of what they do. And I know, you know, we all know Dom won't take credit for that, and he'll talk about his team, and knowing the team as we do, we know that is embedded throughout the organisation. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that's a huge organisation. Many people wouldn't look at it as a typical business, but it's actually taking examples of the sorts of things they're doing and the approach that we think can probably have a good positive influence on other people as well. So anyone from a Blenheim right the way down to a sole trader, yeah, we're looking for really exciting examples and questions. As I say, Mike likes a provocative question and a debate, don't you, Mike? So it would be good to have some different perspectives on what this stuff is and what's right and what's wrong.
I think this is a really important point, because there are lots of businesses to celebrate and lots of activities and actions going on all over the place that are really important. And I think, Richard, your point about the last 9 months, seeing a step change, it's notable to me that when you look at the really big management consultancies, PwC and people like that, they've all started talking about the exact areas that we're talking about, but only in the last few months. And yet the conversations, as we all know here, and many people watching will know, have been going on for a very long time. So for me, that suggests that we sort of reached a tipping point. We've kind of reached a point where this is all now in the mainstream, and a groundswell is starting to be created. Nonetheless, I think it's really important, and Grant, you mentioned this earlier, we should also explore the challenges, because we've all got them. Everybody has a barrier to some sort of progress all the time. A lot of these are benign. They're nothing to be ashamed of or worried about. They're just things that happen in our daily lives. So I think it's really important to look at some of the things that people are thinking about, some of the things perhaps they want to do, and to look at those things. Oh, if only we had this, we could do that. And to explore that, because I think we'll find, and certainly I'm seeing, that it's easier than you think. It's a question of mindset and a degree of planning and a degree of foresight, and these things are all important in business. But other people have faced the same challenges, and I think it's very important to set that out.
I think the other thing as well is in terms of why should we do this stuff, you know, and you know, some people are doing it because it's just naturally and they feel it's the right thing to do. And forgive me, Mike, but I would use Jennings as an example of that. You know, you've been doing it for a long time. You did it because it was just right. There are other businesses that perhaps feel, and again, forgive me, Sam, you know, when I in doing what I do, when I get approached by PR people, I think, oh, here we go. Someone wants to do something good so that they look good, you know, or offset some rubbish that they're doing over there. So we are all coming from it from quite a different angle, but I think it is important to understand that it's got to be of benefit. There's no doubt about that. People want to work for organisations like this. They want to buy from organisations like this. They want to invest in organisations like this. And increasingly, people, I'm being selective. I just don't want to do business with anyone. I only want to sell to people that share my values as well. But I think the other point I wanted to make was that, you know, we're going through some tough times. There's no doubt about it. And there's more tough times ahead. The public sector has got less money. The government's pretty much broke, isn't it? Business has many of the solutions that can actually address some of those challenges that we've got without it costing money. And in fact, potentially to make money out of it as well. So, and as Mike said before, you know, that whole thing around, there was a time when this was left to charities, and then we got social enterprises. You know, we got 33,000 businesses in Oxfordshire. If we can get businesses doing more of this stuff, wow.
And I think just wanted to make the point about the last 9 months is there will be a lot of businesses and people that can't do what they did before because of the pressures on their business So there's a huge void to fill, and hopefully, as you've said, there's a lot of businesses that never really thought like this. So if we can try and influence and inspire some of them to be thinking along these lines, then hopefully we can go some way to filling that void. And in due course, hopefully those that are having their attention focused elsewhere because they're trying to survive can survive and come and get back into focus along these lines of thinking at some stage in the future.
So Richard, you're going to talk a little bit about, what to expect, what people watching can expect, and how this is going to work.
Well, yeah, I mean, so 4 guys here plus Dom have kindly agreed to join our the Real Meaning of Business Advisory Board. We wanted to set up an independent group. I mean, you're not going to meet more often, probably quarterly, but I think it's important to have an independent, objective group looking at what B4 is doing and making sure that we're staying on the right track and providing that objective view. I called it in previous meetings that we've had sort of B4's conscience, I suppose, and the heart of B4 to ensure that we really do keep this at the top of the agenda. It isn't going to be for everybody, as we've just referenced, but hopefully those that haven't been bitten by the feel-good bug over the last 9 months, and I'd like to see that person, because if you haven't got carried away by the euphoria of supporting the NHS, etc., and haven't felt good about it, then you probably won't ever appear on one of these shows. But there are some hard-nosed people out there, but let's chip away at them. So you guys are going to be our conscience, if you like, and make sure that we're staying on the right track. And then in terms of the Real Meaning of Business show, that will take place monthly. So one of you or 2 of you, or however it works out, will host the show going forward, bringing in guests that you think we should all be hearing more from. When we can, we'll get out and get some video footage to bring sort of some of these examples to life, and hopefully just continue to inspire everybody.
Great stuff. Anyone else want to chip in? Anything else anyone wants to add?
Yeah, I'd like to add that I think certainly in the conversations I'm having with people in HR and in business leadership and so on, that the thing that seems to be forgotten by many is that we're not very far away from a generation of people moving into the workplace who have fundamentally different sets of values to us and our generation and even millennials. And we have to be really conscious of the type of world they want to move into, the type of values they have, and therefore the types of businesses that we build that are fit for future purpose, that they can actually engage with and want to be a part of. And I feel that we all, everybody here, everybody watching this, we kind of owe it to ourselves to make sure that we are in fact fit for future purpose. And perhaps that's the driver for all of this. Perhaps that is the real meaning of business. It's less about what the real meaning of business is today and more about what it's going to be tomorrow.
I'd like to just add something, Grant, and that is this question of profit. Because we have to be really careful here, because when people set up in business, the reason they're doing it is to generate an income for themselves, and we shouldn't shy away from the necessity of that. I mean, after all, as an employee, we're in it partly because we want a salary, and there's no difference as a sole trader setting up wanting to earn a profit. So I'd like any smaller businesses out there to consider that what we're looking for is for people who are working from intuition and from integrity to do the right thing, to do your best. And that should be treated as an investment in your business rather than as a loss of profit. You're happy to invest in capital things. This is a kind of social capital or ethereal capital, because by doing the right thing, there's an attractive quality in the way you do business, which has certainly been the case with my business. You attract your customers to you because of the way you do business, and the same with employees, and the same with suppliers. And so we're not saying that profit isn't important, but I would ask any viewers, anyone who wanted to come on this show, to accept that we do recognize that. So rather than saying it's about maximizing profit, what we're saying is that, I'm saying anyway, is that profit is an outcome of doing good through how you conduct yourself in business.
I agree, and it's not it's how you make the money and what you do with the money that's the important thing. And as you quite rightly say, it's not about philanthropy. It's about placing stakeholders on the same level as shareholders and making sure we're looking after everyone, you know, even suppliers. Ridiculously, not ridiculously, I think there's some great examples I could share where there's some very powerful stuff happening through the supply chain. So yeah, I think brilliant. Richard, are we turning to you for closing words? I think we're pretty much there, are we?
Yeah, I think really it's a case of next steps, and if this particular topic is interested in anybody watching, then I'm sure you'll know at least one of Sam, Steve, Grant, or Mike. You'd like to put your business forward as a case study that we can showcase. Please do get in contact with any of these guys, or Dom, or myself through B4. We'd love to hear from you. Obviously can't showcase everybody, but we'll do our best to shine a light on as many inspiring examples and businesses and individuals as we possibly can over the course of the next 12 months. And you know, if we get inundated, we can always run it weekly, can't we?
Yep.
And I think we can't do enough of this sort of thing, can we? So I think there's a huge appetite for it, and it's going to be our job to help shine that light. So thank you, all of you, for joining us, and look forward to working with you. Sam, anything you'd like to add in closing?
No, just really excited to be part of this and to kind of see some of those best practice examples, really. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Excellent. Steve?
I'm just really excited to be part of it and to take part and listen to conversations that I'm sure hope will go on, because I think there's a lot to think about and a lot to do, and we should make it accessible.
Brilliant. Mike?
Same from me. Looking forward to this. It's a great opportunity, and thanks Richard and B4 for providing the platform to allow us to do this.
No, our pleasure. And last word over to you, Grant.
It's just really to say that I just have the pleasure of being able to see a lot of this stuff happening anyway. I mean, there is a lot more to happen. And if you're watching this, we know you're out there. So if you don't come to us, we'll come to you.
Sounds very threatening, Grant.
Knock on the door.
The real threat from business. Right, excellent. Well, great to see you all. And to keep up to date with latest dates of shows, and I think most of the guys here have got their own shows coming up on B4 TV at some stage in the future as well. Do sign up for the B4 newsletter at b4-business.com, so you'll get latest news into your inbox and dates for the first or the next Real Meaning of Business show. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Richard.